It's an insurance requirement.
It's in the hat, it's in the hat.
So you got one of those three-cornered hats.
Okay. So, okay. And then what we can do is try to figure out a time, Trent and I can get together and figure out a time that we can put in that letter that, okay, this will be our first meeting for sitting down and start looking at the collective bargaining.
Just a question, because I haven't been here long. Do you guys have to reset your collective bargaining team every time, or do you just keep going with who you have? I don't know.
You probably have to reestablish them.
Pardon me?
Probably have to cut the council to agree on whether you use the same team.
Probably true.
Yeah, but it would make sense.
I know we had talked about keeping the same people in place on this one because it was a reopen continuation, but, I mean, if council
long as
wanted to
they're
change
available.
it to, I have no issue, you can do it in that. All right, so, okay. So we could probably state in that letter, do you think that for a date determined in March?
If you guys are telling us a day that works for you and Trent, then we'll just set that date.
Is everybody okay with that, Trent and I continue moving forward?
Yes.
You don't want to make a motion? Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the update on the website.
I pretty much gave you my notes from the meeting that we had on Wednesday night. One of the things that is important is Ron Peterman, who's the new technology director for the city of Auburn, attended the meeting, and he provided, on the second page, a draft web hosting and maintenance agreement. The committee talked about some of the options that they gave us to do some of the maintenance of the website. So they're willing to convert the website over for that $2,200. They gave us two options below, option A and option B. Option A is where the city can ask them to, let me go look at which one is which here. So the city somebody in the city would be responsible for updating each of the pages. We thought maybe staff from each department, a representative from each department, could learn how to upload and make changes to the website. If we got a big, large project or a major overhaul of a couple of pages, then we could ask IT to do it at $75 per hour. They're going to bill it in 30-minute increments. And then the other option is for $300 a month, they would go ahead and do all the work for us like they're kind of doing right now. So it's kind of up to you guys how you want this brought forward. I was hoping that you guys read through the staff report. You didn't want to have to read the whole thing. So that's the one thing that I would need direction on. I'm supposed to be meeting with them this week to go over what the website pages are supposed to look like. We do have some changes that the department directors and their staff are looking at, because they did say as part of that initial $2,200 before they take over the hosting, we can make some modifications to the web page. Because right now it's exactly the way it looks now. And I just thought we might want a front page that was just a little bit more interactive, and the technology committee also agreed. So like on the front page, you could have upcoming events, so like the St. Patrick's Day parade that's coming up, when we do Earth Day, those kinds of things could go on the front page, and people could just click and either go to that nonprofit's webpage or to another page that has a little bit more detailed information. If we're hiring, we could have something under there for that. So those kinds of things on the front, take out the white background and put a color in there so it's a little bit more appealing to the eye and not so stark. So I'm going to be meeting with them to kind of go over those kinds of changes and ideas with them. So I'm just kind of basically looking for direction, and John was at the meeting so he can fill in any gaps.
Well, basically, like she's talking about, we just thought Patty would meet with Ron and discuss some visual options with the web as far as how it looked and the interactive The issues we talked about, putting, documenting the forms, standardized forms online, and, for each department and stuff like that, and then the training for the department heads. We've, a lot of this stuff was talked about over a year ago when we first got involved. But we kind of slept last year as far as the committee, technology committee meeting. So it looks positive. Ron's willing to assist us in preparing at least initial what we've already paid for, and then negotiate the options. One of the options was a $300 monthly. They'll take everything. We just give it to them. They'll provide all the uploading of information and do it a lot quicker than some cases than we can. So there was some discussion about the balances, plus and minus of paying that versus the $75 and then paying as needed cost, you know. So, but as far as the website, I think that we're really looking forward to pushing that one as fast as possible. At least get the new version up and operating, and then we'll move from there as far as any additional improvements. Is that what as I recall?
Councilman Smith.
I have a couple of questions. I see here on the kind of the draft maintenance agreement that talks about the different options, and I see 5 gigabytes of server space, and it says 1/4 gigabyte of current size. So are we at 20 gigs now, and we would get 5 under this agreement, or am I reading that wrong?
That'll work.
I'm thinking that our current size is a quarter of 5.
So we're using like we have like 1
We're
point,
not, yeah,
1
we're
and a
not
quarter.
even, yeah, we have so much room for growth.
Okay.
It's incredible how much room we
So I
have.
was gonna say, if we're using 20 gigs now,
No.
that might be an issue.
No, Auburn would be using 20 gigs.
Have you got a chance to look at what the content editing platform is, and if it's something that's reasonable for department heads or and one specific person within each department to do? Is it?
I have not yet. So when I'm meeting with them to go over, and I'm not hoping, they're going to show me how they do what they do. I have experience with, when I was in Port Orchard, of uploading my own stuff to my own page. I was responsible for our own pages. So we had an outsourced company do it, so we had to learn how to do theirs. I did ask Ron if he would provide us with step-by-step instructions, similar to what we have for STR Gold, with little snapshots of what the screen looks like, and he said absolutely, so anybody would be able to follow it, but he would also come in and train, and he suggested that we do one person from each department.
Okay. Because my preference between option A and option B would almost entirely depend on how friendly that is and how realistic it is for our staff to.
Right. If it's 15 pages of instructions just to do one thing, I'm gonna let them do it.
Right.
But if it's a couple pages, because of the screenshots that take up the room and it's very simple and you can just go boom, 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 then I think we can do it quite easily, because we don't have a huge, and it's not real robust. Maybe in a couple of years, we might want to look at letting them do more of the work rather than us.
Follow-up question. I see here on the staff report, there's also discussion about Channel 21, video capabilities, Wi-Fi, and social media. Those are the 4 things that caught my attention. I didn't see those in that draft agreement. Would those be outside of that? Is that conversations yet to be had?
Those are conversations yet to be had. Those were things, like I said, I kind of gave you my minutes because I wanted you guys to make sure I just think it's important that you all are on the same page with everybody. So the Channel 21, Ron had no idea we even had it. Scott had completely forgotten that it was even in existence, and so he wasn't really on his radar. So my understanding is they were supposed to work on the fiber this week, and then I think they were also going to look at Channel 21 in between all of that, so they've been the discussion. Social media, Trent was really big on pushing for, Facebook over in the community services and using them as the guinea pig. And, I think police and public works have a Twitter account, but it's not active and nobody's using it, so he kind of would like to see that get up. And we suggested that, once the personnel
They do.
policies are adopted,
PPD.
we take a look at
Twitter.
those policies first, and then make sure everybody's on the same page with them, and then get those implemented and signed by all the staff. And then we can work
Pick
on
and
the
set
rest
it
of
up.
the personnel policies, so that's
The
kind of where
Twitter.
it's at.
The police
So our
department.
senior center did have a Facebook page.
They still do.
Yeah. Just as a new.
I
They
think it'd be
keep it all.
great, I recognize it's a step-by-step process, but particularly the combination of the video capabilities for council meetings as well as Channel 21. I think that'd be a huge,
And that's still in the infancy stage,
Yeah.
so, but Ron did say there are several options for that, it's just a matter of how much you wanna pay. And where the money's gonna come from.
Understood.
You show me the money.
We have like this new video put in here for the court, we're just like have another.
It's not,
separate
not the
line, like
same
another-
thing. It's a totally separate operation. I wish, but it's totally separate.
The hardware cost of video isn't much these days, it'll just be a question of getting it properly configured.
It's the cameras that cost the most. You would have to have a camera in the center probably. You guys could probably do with 2, maybe 3 cameras. So you want a camera to pan the audience for when they're speaking or someone's at the podium, and then you want a camera to zoom in on the council. So you also have to have some place to put that equipment and somebody to operate that equipment during the meetings, because you want them to be able to switch between the cameras.
I think it'd be a huge advantage just to put a stationary camera up there.
Yeah, even if it was only during council.
Yeah.
$400
What, you don't like my camera?
And the cameras are
People want to get an IP, if we have website, we get an IP address,
Yeah.
and hold up
They
here for
automatically
150
change.
minutes.
Cameras are Seattle City Council meetings, pretty impressive. Anyway, so there's no action to be taken at this time, right?
Only if you want me to continue pursuing one of the 2 options, or if you would rather I came back at a future workshop and talk about how easy the system is or is not to navigate, to answer your question, and then that might help you guys decide which option to go with.
I think that,
Yeah, that'd be helpful for me.
And how much money did we put aside, do you know, how much money is in the budget for this, or?
No.
Well, I think there's the monthly payment that we put in every year, right, how much we pay.
The $3,000 a month is in the budget
And this
but-
is over that amount.
for IT services.
Not 3,000, but all of our current IT.
That's just like. Okay. Next item on the agenda is, personnel policy and procedure.
Just say move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions. Please understand that these are the policies that, that former clerk, Sandy Paul was working on, and then Jane Montgomery was working on. I did a search of all the current minutes all the way back as far as I could go, which I think was 2003, and I didn't see anything in the minutes that said you guys actually adopted a personnel policy. It's one of the things that's tied into the insurance, and I'm so tired of having to say that all the time, so I do apologize, but, it's just one of those things that we have to get on the books, and then we can work on tweaking and updating. There are some highlighted spots in here that are gonna show up as real dark on your thing, because I didn't copy this in color. Those were notes, I'm assuming, from Jane on additional items that she had questions on and she was still researching. So I have those still as the highlights in the version that's on my computer, so that's part of what the department directors will be looking at over the next year, and then we're hoping to bring back, one big change to the policies at the end of the year or shortly after the first of the year in 2014. So happy to answer any questions.
No, it's a very lengthy, document. I know, I did see the highlighted items. Some of this we may have to review to the recent contracts negotiated, make sure that, we're in compliance with those documents. I know it's like related to the vacation hours, usages and stuff like that, as I read. It's a very long document, so I only gathered a couple of the items.
Right,
So-
and I can say from having to work with both the CDA and these policies that they don't always marry up, and the contract usually trumps the policy unless there's nothing in the contract and then the policy trumps it. But I just feel that because we don't have this adopted as an official document, that you don't really have a lot of standing if we had to go to a grievance or something.
I think we need to make it an official document, and then we need to get into the document and make sure that we're in compliance, either specifically identifying another document as the body that's in control of it, you know, and then start pulling stuff out that way.
Yeah. And one last thing that I'd like to ask is, this says it's personnel policy and procedures, but there really is no procedures listed in here. Are you guys comfortable with just adopting it as a personnel policy?
Yeah.
Okay, and then later on, once it's adopted, I can go back in and, as a scrivener's error, take out all the procedure wording. I don't wanna make another copy of this, is what I'm trying to tell you, it's 206 pages, that's a lot of trees.
Any other comments from council? Council's pleasure?
Oh, I actually just had one other
Oh, I'm
comment,
sorry.
I didn't have it before. There are a few components of policies in here that would replace existing adopted standalone policies. So for instance, there's a full section in here on travel, video expense, state credit cards, et cetera. So we should make sure that that's either compatible with the existing policy or that our adoption of this includes explicit replication of the existing policy.
What was your pleasure?
Need to sit down and compare them.
I can do that, I just need to know which way you wanna go after I compare them. Do you want them to be just that we have these policies and separate from these?
I would think, since we've already, you're talking about the
I said credit card policy.
credit card policy should be probably referred to in the policy.
In this
Yeah,
one?
in this document.
Yeah, I would
Procurement, credit
incorporate
card,
in here.
travel.
Yeah.
You don't want it incorporated in the policy, just a reference that
I would
a
reference
policy
it.
exists and this is where it's located?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd actually prefer incorporating it myself, because then we have one source document.
I would think so.
As long as we can incorporate it verbatim.
But in my mind, if we just take the document and make references to it now, and then look at, because you're looking at a whole, there's more than just that.
I wouldn't be able to do it by the 11th.
Well, and that's what I was thinking, is there, is this time sensitive?
I think it is related to our insurance coverage. We're not in compliance with a lot of items that our new insurance company is pushing us up against.
My question was directed.
I know.
Well, I agree with Councilmember Jones on that it is time sensitive in that sense. It's not time sensitive, but, you know, the longer you guys put this off, the harder it is if we have to go up against a grievance or we have an employee dispute on what the CDA says versus what the personnel policy says. And they do have some legal standing, I would think, to say, it's not adopted, this isn't your official policy, show as your official policy. And we don't have an official policy, so to me, this is important to get done as soon as possible.
I understand, but I'm wondering if we put it off to the next court show, if that, so that you're able to incorporate.
Okay, let's be realistic on my ability to get some of this stuff done in
Well,
2 more
okay.
weeks. I have a lot of other things, I've got 2 looming public records requests that I have
That's
to
my
start
question.
working on. I would rather you just adopt what is here. I can simply make that reference on those policies that are separate, like the procurement, the travel, the credit card. I can fix those pages relatively quick, just to say they're located here, or CA's policies located here. That's a simple fix, and then I do wanna come back by the end of the year or shortly after the first of the year with a completely revamped, revised policy and procedures that is in alignment with the 2 CDAs.
Councilmember Vargas?
my suggestion right now for ease of getting this thing completed and everything is that where there is an ordinance or a resolution already in place covering that specific thing, you take that right out of it right now and you reference to that ordinance or that resolution and make copies of it and insert it in that spot rather than having to try to go through and retype 26 pages of this item, word for word of what this other item says. I mean, let's make her job a little easier for her and simplify.
What can be done is just put that new ordinance and stick those things out, put that piece
And wipe
in.
out what we got now and slip the new one in.
And now it sounds like they'd rather just make a reference to it.
Well, we can
Well, I
make,
think that is.
we can make a reference to it later.
Have in mind what you
Okay.
think with
Okay.
Mr. Sanders and.
No sense in reinventing the wheel.
Hey, I hear you, it's all, the work's done. You spent enough time on it. So, move it forward to the next meeting to approve with the notations?
Yeah, let's get it done.
Next item on the agenda is the medical marijuana moratorium.
Yeah, there was a, I think you hear me, I hope. There was an error in calculating time, and had thought about the fact that it was a workshop that this was moved to for the hearing. We needed to move it to another date for the council meeting.
Questions from council?
We have in the past had public hearing without workshop.
Well, we had special meetings, haven't we?
They had
It's a
hearings,
public
we never
hearing.
made a decision.
Yeah, it's
But that makes it so.
Well, in all fairness to the public, not very many. Look at our audience here. Let's make sure that they're at regular meeting time.
Any other discussion from council?
move it forward.
Okay. All right, we'll move it forward to change the date to the 25th. Okay, next item on the agenda is, the reestablishing of the police chief.
Next item on the agenda is the workshop item 3K, reestablishing the position of chief of police. I don't think I should read the contents, however, I'd like to make a comment. I'm asking the council to repeal the public safety director job description, repeal the ordinance, because the public safety director directs both the police and the fire departments. We don't have a Pacific Fire Department. It is now under the Valley Regional Fire Authority jurisdiction. Therefore, I request the council to consider repealing the present public safety director job description. That's all I have to say.
Councilmember Jones?
I don't have the civil service, job description for a public safety director, but as I recall, when it was being written, there is no reference to the, fire department and the public safety director's job description. They are virtually one and the same. The only difference between the two is a chief of police is a commissioned officer, and a public safety director is a civilian position. Both of them carry the same responsibilities over the police department, singular. But without looking at the document in front of me, that's as I recall when I was involved in writing.
Mr. Mayor?
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
What overrides what? The ordinance or the Civil Service Commission rules?
What ordinance are you talking about?
I'm talking about the ordinance, this is the ordinance. You're talking about the civil service.
Well, civil service was directed by the civil service was required because the council made one, a public safety director, a civil service position, covered position, at which time we found that the job description of public safety director was not valid anymore because there was no fire department for them to cover. So the job description was changed at that time. Now, it's the responsibility of the council to make sure that those descriptions are incorporated. I wasn't on the commission, the council at the time. I was on the commission. So.
I'll pose a question. Which is over the other? The ordinance, or the public, or the Civil Service Commission? Which is supreme?
Well, right now there's a conflict, so I would say that it would be a requirement of the council to correct that job description. If the ordinance that you have says it's covering over the fire department, that position hasn't been that way for years. So that means if the ordinance you read says the fire department, then that ordinance is invalid.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, right now,
The job description does not say the fire department. The job description says that he oversees the police department and the emergency management director of the city.
Okay.
Councilmember Putnam.
We've got a situation where we didn't update code very carefully when changing some provisions. The public safety director position is codified in code from 2000 as heading both police and fire. In 2007, the public safety director position was put under civil service, which gave civil service jurisdiction over updating the job description. However, we did not remove at that time the year 2000 language about the fire department. However, typically when you're interpreting a law, a more recent law overrides an older law. So the civil service provision takes precedence over the job description in code. But then we also get into an issue if we're going to change from a police chief, from a public safety director to a police chief. That same Civil Service Commission language specifies that both the police chief and the civil service and then the public safety director are civil service positions. So if we have an incumbent in the public safety director position and change it in code to a chief of police position, I believe we'll need to talk with the attorney on whether you'd have to grandfather in the existing incumbent under civil service protection for that new position, even if the position definition changed, because both are defined as being civil service positions, not at-will positions, and that's more recent than the language that said that they were at-will positions. But it's a mess.
Councilmember Steiger?
well, I can do it a lot fewer words than Putnam. He should have been an attorney.
Close enough, I'm not sure.
When the position was made to be civil service, that came up about the old, and at that time, with the advice of the city attorney that we had, is that we didn't have to worry about the previous ordinance and the job description, because civil service overrode anything else that there was out there, and that would be, if the issue came up, civil service commission ruling would be the one that would stand up in court, not, because it would supersede the ordinance. Now, also, you, under the situation as a civil service employee right now, you cannot change his job description as long as he is on the job. Now, if he would leave, we could change job description through civil service to a new incoming person. It's a position right now, it has to stay as it is. It's just because that came up when the hearing about the coming back to work after being on administrative leave, and you could not do anything. You had to bring him back as his civil service standings were as when he was put out on administrative leave. You cannot make any changes to that person. And that was what I got when I did all the research on what would happen when he came back, if he did, and which he did come back.
Any other comments from council?
Well, I think it needs to be, legally, we need some, legal interpretation of this, but I believe you're right, the civil service job descriptions override, and we can't change it. We can, if John were to medically retire, we could open up the position for a public police chief at that time, you know, but, or, you know, I don't know if we can. I think we're legally at issue, we try to change the job.
Councilmember McMahon?
As if this wasn't complicated enough, we also have a contract with John in addition to the ordinance, or the PMC, the Civil Service Commission. We also have what I think is still active litigation on the subject going, which worries me that we would be handling this now, plus the contract. So, Mayor, did you get legal advice?
Pardon?
Did you talk to an attorney about all kind of these intricacies?
Yes.
When you drafted this up?
Yes.
What did your attorney say? If you, don't feel like you have to share, but if you can.
Say again?
I said, don't feel like you have to share, but if you can.
No, I prefer not to say it.
Okay.
I rest my case.
Any other comments from council?
I think we need to workshop it another dozen times.
Probably the need concern.
So do we want to bring it back to workshop with
Yep.
documentation from civil service?
I think we need to
Communicate with the attorney,
Yeah.
legalities of this issue.
I'm not sure it's worth bringing it back to workshop until we have a legal opinion on, whether we could go forward with it.
And I think right now,
And, yeah, and in the current situation with pending litigation, whether it would be advisable to just postpone. We don't wanna rack up any additional,
this is a medical record.
yeah.
I object to postponing it. You either make up your mind now and kill the issue or don't.
We don't have
Postpone it,
sufficient,
all we're going to do is just discuss it.
Is
Well, we-
it council pleasure not to move it forward?
I don't think we can do anything other than postpone it until we have enough information to make a reasonable decision.
Who's gonna get the information?
Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna get the information?
Sure.
Fine. Let's postpone it.
So postpone it till,
Next meeting, come to council,
Next
workshop.
workshop. Which is the 19th.
I think you make sure to make some consideration also, and get with the attorney on this pending suit that this gentleman has
Well,
right
and I
now.
think
Well,
John will do that.
I'm gonna look at the legality of changing the job description, while there's somebody presently in position, and I'm gonna look at the civil service job description overriding any prior ordinances.
So because we don't wanna make his case any stronger than it is right now.
Yeah, I would also suggest, perhaps the president speak to the city attorney about whether it's appropriate to do anything on this while there's a pending suit, by a private party against the Civil Service Commission ruling.
By a private party.
Any other comments from council? Okay, so we'll be moving that to our next workshop. Next item on the agenda is the 2013 consistent salary, that's city clerk.
Yeah, I received a letter from Pierce County saying that they're finalizing their officers for the open positions in 2013. And just in case you don't remember who you are, that's, Councilmember Jones, Geyer, McMahon, and Walker. You're up this year for reelection. And this is your opportunity to let me know if, you want to change the salary scale. You can always go up, but you can't really go down. So right now, they have a filing fee of, $24 for the council seat with a salary of $2,400 for the year. And this wouldn't go into effect until 2014 budget.
Comments from council?
I think we're enriched by the debate, not by the.
I'm not, I don't care about the money.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm not in it for the money, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think the city can afford to pay us anymore.
We
Well, I
really
have
can't
to
go
ask.
down? We can't cut our own salary?
you can't take effect as long as you remain in office.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
you can go up or
$40
down, but.
You can go up, but you can't go down.
Yeah, why couldn't we go down?
Well, I might be wrong on that, because I'm looking at it from the second class city, I didn't look at it for this, I just got it in the mail today, so I wanted to bring it right up to you guys, just in case you wanted to change the salary, but in a second class city, you can only go up. I don't know.
Code City, you can go down, but you can't do it within your term of office.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it staying just the way it is, personally. But if it affects me if I voted.
It wouldn't be a very fair
Presumptive.
or of you.
Have to change it, we have to go 4 years out. Sort of thing.
Only if they ran again and were reelected.
Right. If they ran again.
And in 4 years, inflation will be so bad that I have to readjust my budget to get up to last year. We'll have to make sacrifices.
Are we done?
What I'm hearing is no adjustment, and I can just let them know that
That would
that's
be my
corrected
understanding.
and they're good to go.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So, one more thing, just FYI to everybody, when I did not realize that, well, it doesn't matter anyway, I have to go to Phoenix on the 19th, I'm meeting at noon, I will not be here for that council meeting, it's a Tuesday, I never thought it was gonna affect, but since we are meeting on that Tuesday because President's Day is on the 18th, will you be here to run the meeting that night? Or somebody will have to run the meeting for me at the workshop, I won't be here.
What day are we talking about?
The
Tuesday the
19th.
19th. Next
It
workshop.
will be in Phoenix.
So long as Patty's willing to still get a voicemail from me Monday night saying, I'm on my way, and not embarrass me on Monday, holiday, sure.
I would not do that.
She's very gracious.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up, I will not be here on the 19th.
And who would be, if I wasn't able to make it, who would be my backup?
Council can select somebody.
Okay.
Okay,